so y'all are aware while we're not live yet. Watch how close you are to the mic so it doesn't sound like Darth Vader breathing.
It does say we're live, Andy.
Okay, we are now. So, all right, guys, we are back with a Think Fast interview prep, and I am your host, Andy Cook. I am here with an amazing group of experts and job seekers today. We are going to be going through some interview prep and having our expert evaluators to give feedback for our job seekers and for all of our viewing audience to pick up on some job seeker tips. So what I'm going to ask everybody to do now is go ahead and mute out your mics. And then if you will unmute when I call your name, I promise you won't have to speak without me calling on you first. So if you would mute out to help us keep the background noise, I will be muting in and out. Hopefully I will remember to unmute and when I'm talking. So to get us started, I just want to introduce some of our experts, and we have a great group with us today. I'll start with Paul Klotz. Paul is a fractional COO. He's an operations consultant and best known for his strategies that align talent and grow business. Cindy Henry is with us. You can wave at us, Cindy. She is a risk management leader, and she's currently at MIC Global. Jason Hopper is one of the amazing career coaches at Jewish Family Services. He is a great partner with the Maximize Your Job Search team, and we appreciate him. Barbie Winterbottom, my fellow Shiro over here, is a CEO and executive coach at the Business of HR. And Nikki Wilson is the Chief Talent and Culture Officer at the Richards Group. Thank you all for your time and being here. I appreciate you so much. We're going to go ahead and dive in and get started. If we have enough time, we're going to throw in an extra round, but we're going to see how it goes. First, I would like to start with Yvonne Rentmeester. If you want to unmute your mic, I'm going to tell everybody what you're going to do really quick. The very first part is going to be simply tell me about yourself. You have up to 2 minutes to go ahead and just give us your elevator pitch as it would be in an interview. So opening the interview, Yvonne, please tell us about yourself.
Hello, everybody. My name is Yvonne Rentmeester. I'm based in Southern California. I'm a 20-plus year veteran out of the fresh produce industry. Background is in quality assurance and technical services, program management. It was with over one company, and it was quite an extensive opportunities I was presented throughout that career path. I worked with the sales team, the production teams out of Latin America, and with the customers throughout North America, and cross collaboration with the teams out of Europe as well, with multiple projects for research and development, and coming out to assist customers with their, mainly it was their banana programs. So that's kind of me in a nutshell.
Very good. Thank you so much. First, I'm going to go to Barbie. Barbie, would you mind offering Yvonne some feedback? What worked well, and what would you coach her on to do a little bit differently for next time?
I'm usually not ever muted, so I'm not used to having to take myself off of mute. So sorry about that. Thank you, Yvonne. So I think you spoke very clearly, which is really great. You were making good eye contact. A couple of times I did lose your eye contact. You were thinking. So one of the things you want to be really cognizant of, especially if you're interviewing through Zoom, is when you're responding, look at the camera, not yourself on the screen. Because when you look at the camera, you're making eye contact with the person who's watching you versus looking at yourself, right? So that's one thing to always keep in mind. So I think your backdrop is clean and all of that is looking really good. Two things I would say, you mentioned that you were working with South American groups. If you are bilingual, I would definitely bring that into the conversation. And banana programs, I would give that a little bit of context. I was working with them in the sale of bananas or whatever that left me a little like, what the heck is the banana program? So that would be what I would share with you.
I love that feedback. And the first time I met Yvonne, she was talking and she said, you know, it's bananas. And she just kept going like it was just a normal. And I was like, does she mean like it was, oh, wait, no, it was actual bananas.
Bananas, so, right. And just be really cognizant of not doing this.
Good feedback.
It was subtle. It was subtle, but you were rocking a little bit.
Very good. Paul, I'm going to go to you for this one. If you would give us some feedback for Miss Yvonne.
I thought it was great. I feel like I know you a little bit. One of the important things is likability, and I find you likable, which is a good thing. Being the age that I am, I never say 20 years because that makes me sound like I've been 20 years would be good for me. It's more like 35 for me. But, you know, if you don't want to put an age on it, don't put an age on it. It's just something to think about. But also, I don't know what a banana program is either. And everybody knows what a banana is, and everybody knows that it's an important thing in the world. And there's probably a way that you can talk to us a little bit about what you do that's really important to the world's food supply. But otherwise, awesome. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you so much. All right. I just want to take a second to acknowledge one of our other experts that was able to join us. I see Miss Michelle Knox over there. Michelle is a branch manager at Robert Half. Michelle, thanks for being here.
Absolutely. Sorry I was a little late. We had a couple calls that ran long, so my apologies.
You're fine. You're fine. No worries at all. All right. So let's go on. Jared, I see your camera's off. Are you with us? I'll give him a minute. If not, I'll circle back. All right. Let's go to Yolanda and I'll circle back to Jared. Oh, wait. We have Jared.
Yes, ma'am. No, I was in the background just doing, as you said, just listening and watching, waiting until.
Absolutely. Are you at a place where you can tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, ma'am. Sorry about the no audio. I was relegated to my gym.
No worries.
I am a tenured employee, a recent employee of Enterprise Holdings. Most people know that it's Enterprise Rent-A-Car. I spent the last 12 years of my professional career there. Worked myself up from part-time, worked myself through college, all the way through recently supervisor of vehicle acquisition and logistics. And I'm here today to watch and learn.
Thank you so much. All right, just a little bit of feedback. I want to go to Nikki. I'll have you go first, and then I'm going to go to you, Michelle.
Hey, Jared. So one, I like that, you know, you showed that you went from part-time all the way up to supervisor. So definitely keep that piece in there. Thanks for explaining Enterprise Rent-A-Car, because I started writing it down and I was like, Enterprise, right? So most people know Enterprise Rent-A-Car, so totally up to you, but maybe you just leave the holdings off and just say Enterprise Rent-A-Car, because that's, you know, that brand is very recognizable. And then I think the other piece of feedback, well, I guess I have two other pieces of feedback. One, I know that when you get to an interview, we really, really want to see you. So, so definitely want to have that camera on and be camera ready when you have that virtual interview, that conversation. And then the second, as you went from part-time to supervisor, you know, I was just kind of curious of how you kind of did that. Is because you kept getting promoted? Is because you were showing initiative? How did you matriculate up through the supervisory role, and kind of what have some of your contributions been as you move forward? So that would be my feedback, Jared.
Thank you, Nikki. I appreciate that.
Thank you so much, Nikki. Michelle, do you have feedback?
Yes. So Jared, similar to what Nikki said, I really liked how you started off with your progression, how you started out at Enterprise as a part-time employee, and you've worked your way up into a supervisor role. I think that's it's very good to point out. The only thing I would add to that is emphasizing more about what you supervised over, what your team was responsible for, kind of how that fits into the overall organization. And the best way to do that is if you can tell a story. So if it's like, if I were to do it, I would say, Michelle Knox, I started out as an account rep at Robert Half, did not know technology at all. I've worked my way up to a branch manager position. where I oversee a team of 17. I'm responsible for recruiters and sales reps, and I manage my own book of business. So something really succinct and simple that kind of ties in like your role in the whole organization.
Very
Got
good
it.
feedback. Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
All right, really great. I like the feedback, and I can see how that's applicable to everybody who may be listening, and also other people as you're getting ready to go. It's always harder to go first. So, Yolanda, would you introduce yourself, please?
Hello, my name is Yolanda Career, and I currently in Palm Bay, Florida. I've been in the travel industry for over 30 years. I started as a travel agent and worked myself up into the script writing and also eventually into the implementations team, where I got to implement throughout Latin America, and bilingual, traveled. And I also eventually ended up with BCD Travel in our mid-office team, where I actually got to program for the complete office tool, and of course got let go due to the COVID.
Thank you, Yolanda. I appreciate you. And one thing I would notate, just having had conversations with you, is you've actually gone to global locations to work on site. And I think that's really important for you to mention, just because it does set you apart. And I think that's something that's really strong about you. And then as you're developing, making sure, when I first met you, so someone who has recruited developers, our ears perk up as soon as we hear the word script or developer, but making sure that they understand what complete is. And not everybody outside of travel knows that complete is a program, and that Concur program. So just kind of, you might clarify if you're in a broader audience.
Okay.
So very, very good. I want to go to Cindy.
Hi. I thought that was very good, Yolanda. I was unsure about what the programs were too. So Andy, thank you for clarifying that. So I would recommend maybe expanding a little bit on that for us non-IT folks. But the presumption, though, is that you're going to be interviewing for an IT job with an IT person. I think some of the HR folks may not know the exact details of a job when they're recruiting for it, so it might help to expound on that a little bit. I did notice, too, that your mic was giving a little bit of extra noise there, so I don't know if there's a way for you to adjust that at all. But that would be something I would recommend. But otherwise, I thought it was great.
Thank you.
Good feedback.
Hey, Andy, can I jump in really quickly?
Absolutely.
Yolanda, one of the things I think you're doing, which is causing that feedback, is when you're responding, you're holding your breath and you're saying everything. And then as soon as you're done, you're exhaling.
Okay.
And when you're exhaling, that breath is hitting the microphone and making that noise. And it's really loud in the ear of the person listening. So if you can practice some breathing exercises and how to breathe and have a little bit smoother of an approach, kind of a takeoff for your response and then a landing without that heavy exhale at the end, it'll stop that that noise.
All right.
You
Thank
can practice here with us.
Perfect.
All right. Thank you.
Perfect. Great.
Can I jump in for a second?
Absolutely.
So I've mentioned this on Yvonne as well. I never would have guessed that you have over 30 years of experience doing anything. So you might just want to say something like deep experience as opposed to over 30 years, because we just have to worry about ageism. It's not fair and it's not right, but we do have to worry about it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. And I love that you guys absolutely feel free. If you have something to add, jump in. That's perfect. All right, let's go to Nathan. Nathan, would you mind introducing yourself?
Sure, as soon as I find the unmute button. Hey, Foster, hi, welcome. Andy, thank you for having me, everybody, spending your evening doing this, at least in Fort Worth. So the reason I'm looking for a new job is primarily because I want a company that shares the same values, the core values that I'm looking for. One that not only appreciates and values its employees, but seeks their welfare actively through the benefits they give, the training, the advancement possibilities. So I wouldn't have applied for this job or gotten the interview if I didn't believe I was qualified, because I'm not going to put myself out there with that much of a risk. So what I wanted to talk about most with you was the company culture. And then of course you can test me however you want to see how I'm qualified. But with this give and take, I wanted to just let you know what I was here for, what I'm looking for, and we can move on from there. Thank you.
I told y'all I would do it. I knew. All right, Jason Hopper, I'm going to go to you on this one.
All right, Nathan, you were very articulate, and your answer was thought out. You did lean forward a little bit, which does show interest, and that's good. You didn't tell me anything about you, right? Like what it is that you do. You told me, hey, I'm here because I applied. I'm interested in the culture. Culture's important to me. But like in my head, I'm like, and like who are you? Like, what do you do? Like, I get like in an interview situation, like I understand that you have actually, applied to the job, and now we're setting up the Zoom and so forth. But like, when you are giving this type of speech, you want to hit a couple of high points of things that you've done and achieved in your career, and then, kind of let the rest of that play out.
Absolutely. So let me kind of piggyback on what Jason's saying here. Nathan, because I know you, I know what you do, but nobody else in here knows that you're a subject matter expert on Revit, which is a highly, highly marketable skill. So, or an MVP expert. Like this is where people need to get that you're selling it from day one. So what you're leading in with is what you want from them instead of what you offer them. And remember, people hire us because we solve their problems, not because we have problems. So making sure that we lead in with how we can resolve their problems. So you're a subject matter expert in Revit, and you and I have talked about how companies don't have that as a skill set because either people don't want to learn it, or there's these consultants that nobody wants to pay to do it. So here you are with this skill set that's very, very marketable, being willing to say, hey, I'm a subject matter expert in this, which sometimes can be uncomfortable for us to say I'm great at this. But I think that's what you lead in with because that's the problem you solve. I also want to get some feedback from, well, actually, because it's an IT question, I want to get Michelle's feedback on this.
On, if he be more specific on just his whole approach initially.
Yeah. So when you have somebody who has a really strong skill set and they're coming into an interview, what are some things that they can lead in with that would help tell that story a little bit more from like as an opening?
Yeah, I would start off. Well, first I want to comment. So this might sound odd, but I did like your approach. I just think you have to mirror and match your audience. So if you feel that the interviewer is kind of driving with you and likes how you're approaching the interview, then I would say keep going down that path. But I did really like the confidence in how you started off. It was unique. But if you do have subject matter expertise, and assuming you are an expert in that, I would say, listen, I'm really looking to join a company that shares the same core values as me, but also I can bring a lot of value to your organization. I have expertise in these technologies, and where I can really add value is here. So companies really want to know what they're getting what the return is on their investment. So if you can point that out, or if you actually have a statistic that you can say, that's huge, very valuable, no matter what your specialty is. I don't know if that answers the question or not.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's great. Thank you. Barbie, did you have anything?
Yeah. Nathan, one of the things that I would say, coming from somebody who's not in the tech space, right? And I've been in working for quite a while. One of the things to be very careful of is knowing your audience. So while Michelle speaks that tech language more fluidly than others, be careful that you're not coming across condescending. And when your first lead in is, I wouldn't have applied for this if I didn't think something about myself, that can be a red flag that while this person's really only in it for themselves, what are they going to be like on a team? What are they going to be like from building relationships with other folks within the organization? Are they going to ask questions of their internal customers, or are they going to make assumptions about what that customer needs? So you want to really pay attention to the first, 30 seconds, minute to 2 minutes, is that they're going to get that gut feeling right out of the gate. And that's your opportunity to build that relationship and establish that rapport. So you just be very in tune, like Michelle said, with your audience, so that you're not misinterpreted, because confidence to some can be arrogance to others. And I don't believe that that's who you are, but it could be perceived that way if you're not careful.
Thank you.
Great feedback. All right, Nathan, you did good. Breathe. You made it through the first round. It's the hardest one. All right. Let's go to Julia. Julia, would you mind telling us about yourself?
Make sure I'm off mute. Hi, can you guys hear me? Okay. Hi, I'm Julia Zarnick. I'm in Houston, Texas. I am currently a project manager looking for a project manager role. The majority of my career, I've worked at Shell Oil Company here in Houston. I moved up through the ranks. I started as a crude oil scheduler and quickly got into management role because of my fortitude and asking questions and wanting to move into management. And I believe I was doing networking before networking was cool. I was asking people what they were doing and how they were doing it, and finding out how things were done. And so I got into that kind of a space and moved into a supervisor role and then management role. And my largest team that I managed was 30 in 3 different locations. The whole time I was managing, I would implement projects along the way. I implemented a project. The largest project I implemented was between Houston and Chennai, offshoring work. That was very successful and a challenge. And I also was very excited. The last 2 years I worked at Shell, I was actually titled a project manager. So I got some actual hands-on experience as an actual project manager. And that's when I worked between the business and IT and got to utilize the most skills of finding resources and listing out the project plan and things of that nature. And so I just really found that everything kind of came together and culminated in my career at Shell into this project manager role. And that's what I enjoy doing now. Thank you.
Julia, first of all, I want to tell you, your smile the whole time was on point. Mm-hmm. Your eye contact was perfect. So I just want to jump in there before somebody else steals that, because I'm really, really, really thrilled with it. What I would tell you is avoid telling them everything you know in the first intro. So right at the point where you got into kind of giving a list there at the end, that was where I would cap it. But other than that, I thought it was brilliant. I really think you did a great job of conveying your passion, as well as the phrase lifelong learner that you used in our offline talks. I really like that and think that you can weave that in as well. I want to go to some of our experts for that. Let's start with Foster. Foster, good to see you.
Yay, I'm glad you picked on me for Julia. Hey, Julia.
Hi.
That was awesome. And I'll tell you why. I'm a recruiter. So the first thing, and a networker, but the first thing that I'm thinking is, where can I apply? Because I'm a net weaver. The first thing I'm thinking is, oh my goodness, Julia's got a passion. She can explain it. And the way you explain it, because I've been around oil and gas, because of our big network in Houston a little bit, I understand life cycle. And so you've been through a big part of that life cycle, and you still are there. You're still interested, and you made your way through because you showed interest. And so for me, it becomes, who do I introduce her that I believe would eat her candy? What is she talking about? Who would be interested in that, and how to apply that? If you applied for a job, you and I could talk about that. And according to the people that I'm connected with, I'm a relationship broker. I don't believe in just throwing names around. I make relationships with people. Many of you guys have heard me say that 150 times. But those are the things that I'm looking for as a recruiter and as a networker. I want to know where to apply you to. I want to know, what does this look like? What's she interested in? Why is she here? And I think you did a wonderful job of explaining that.
Thank you.
Very good. I would like to go to Nikki on this.
Yeah, Julia. So yes, I agree with Andy. I mean, just really good presence, and the smile just seemed to kind of captivate me and kind of wanted me to like kind of lean in. So one of the things I thought was really nice that you said was about before networking was cool. And I just thought that showed your authenticity and, you know, some of your passion and what your interests are. So I really like that you weave that in. I also like that you were like 3 locations, 30 people. I mean, it was very clear in terms of some of the accomplishments you've had. And then you talked about the largest project from Houston to Chennai. So I'm taking that was Chennai, India.
Mhm.
So that global reach is really emphasizing that you've had global reach as well, and global experience, I think would be something to really emphasize. Other than that, I just agree with Andy, just kind of getting more succinct. I mean, again, because of your presence, I was captivated and I was drawn in, but then it kind of kept going. So you just kind of want to kind of bring it in and make it a little bit more succinct.
Thank
Other
you.
than that, really nice job.
Thank you.
Very, very good. All right, we have one more job seeker to introduce. Ginger, would you mind telling us about yourself?
I'm Ginger Hartgrove, and I began my career in the airline industry and as a recruiter in HR. I moved to several other jobs throughout that time, and then I went over to the technology area at Sabre and continued my career working with airlines all over the world globally. I'm a subject matter expert on frequent traveler loyalty programs, the functionality, and reservation products. I've been in both an implementation specialist and a business analyst, working with the customers directly, as well as working in a development team in a project agile environment.
Very good, Ginger. I love that. And I like that you were very specific on the environment. Those are some buzzwords that people are often looking for when talking to our business analysts and project managers, that we want to know that you've thrived in an agile environment. Or if we're not in an agile transformation or haven't gone through one, then we want to know you've done waterfall or Kanban or something, some type of hybrid. And so I think without going into all of these details, you succinctly told that story. So I appreciate that. I want to go to Paul on this.
Hi, Ginger. I thought that was clear and succinct. I thought it was great. I think you did a great job of talking about who you are and where you come from and what you do. And I don't really have anything, I don't have any criticism. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Cindy.
There you go. I would concur with what you and Paul said, Andy. Very succinct. It's very clear on what you've done and what your skills are. And I like it that you mentioned the royalty programs, because there are many industries that could cross over into that, not just travel.
Exactly.
Yeah, very nice.
Great point, Cindy. Michelle, again, I'm going to tie to your tech expertise here. Do you have any feedback?
The only thing I would suggest, and it depends, I guess, on the person you're interviewing with or the flow of the conversation, but within the market right now, anyone who has a blended skill set of BA, PM, that is very marketable at the moment. So I think if you're able to tie in that you've worn, dual hats as a BA and a project manager, you've been able to double down when needed. Any kind of verbiage like that, I think, is really important to highlight to the interviewer.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
Very good. All right, so now we're going to move into our lightning round. So this is where I'm going to ask you a question and just take 1 to 2 minutes to answer it. And then you'll have one person that gives you feedback. As with the last time, and we're about 10 minutes ahead of schedule. So if we have extra time at the end, we'll do another round. But also, if the other evaluators have something specific that you want to jump in and say, please feel free to unmute and do that. The very first person I'm going to ask a question to is going to be Yvonne. Your evaluator will be Nikki. The question that I have for you, Yvonne, you have worked in produce for a long time and have a lot of experience in that space. What are some of the transferable skills that you bring to the table in a new role in a new industry?
I was able to work in my industry with many teams throughout the company and with vendors. I was a troubleshooter. My background was really a focus in the Fresh Banana program. The minute the product docked into North America, into the port, and I would follow it all the way through the logistics chain to the end user, which would be the consumer's basket. I assisted in implementing training programs with various companies, such as an Albertsons or a Kroger division, evaluating their handling programs, assisted with that type of training. I also kind of acted as a Google for our company. Should have there been an issue with the bananas arriving incorrectly or having a challenge when it got to the customer location at the distribution center. And I was also the direct hiring manager for 2 departments, the technical service team and the quality assurance department. And that was evaluating inbound technically an entry-level position and bringing them online again with the HR director and that team as well. And lots of research and development with multiple vendors, plastic pallets, crates, modified atmosphere packaging, and collaborating with them and then with the teams down in Latin America and sometimes into the European division as well. So lots of hand-on thinking and movement and constantly change. That was part of the role with the company that I was participating in. So very lucky in those skill sets I think I could bring to the table.
Very good. I really like what you did there because it was transferable and something that you did, whether it was you took feedback from the first time where everybody's going, hang on, what's a banana program? Or if it's that you tailored that to an audience, knowing you were coming into the question was posed as a transition into a new industry. So I don't know what led into you really taking some time to explain it, but the moment you say stores like Kroger or Albertsons or things that they're going to be local for people instantly. So one of the stages of learning is connecting knowledge with what you already know. That makes you memorable. If you can connect a dot between what you're saying and what they already know, it makes that change seamless. So I really thought that was a brilliant strategy. Nikki, what do you have?
Yeah, I would agree with you, Andy. One of the things I wrote down is it was very relatable. So you took the feedback. It was very clear. I was writing out like, oh my gosh, she has so many transferable skills. But when you talked about that supply chain process and from the dock to the user's basket, it was like, bam, I got it. So it was very, very relatable because you never know who you're going to be interviewing with in terms of their background. I mean, there may be 1 or 2 individuals on there who certainly can speak your lingo in terms of supply chain and, understand, but there may be others who don't. So I thought it was very relatable. You did a nice job rounding out a bunch of different skills, everything from like, I heard vendor management, change, hands-on collaboration, being able to evaluate technical skills. So I thought it was a really nice, just, I guess, myriad of different types of skills that you could use. So really nice job. I really don't have any other feedback, but I thought you did a good job in using a diversity of different skills that probably address a number of different things in the position you're being considered for. So great job. Thank you.
Very good. The only other feedback I have, I want to make sure I mention this, and this is across the board for everybody listening. When you start to speak and list, and this goes whether writing in a resume or in speaking, you have about 2 or 3 items before people tune out. Mm-hmm. And it is just something about our brain that when somebody starts reciting a list, we check out. And so just use that sparingly when you start to go through items to make sure that it doesn't read like you're just going down a list in your head. And sometimes what it is we're brainstorming, trying to think. But more often than not, when we get to the point of the list, that's where we should have already ended the, we're now starting to go, okay, what else should I say? And often the answer to that is nothing. You might have said it all. So very, very good.
Thank you.
All right. Anytime. Jared, are you available?
Man, sorry, computer's a little slow here.
That's okay. Can you hear me fine?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So Jared, your evaluator is going to be Foster. Jared, you are in a similar situation as Yvonne as you are looking to pivot careers. You and I have talked offline about how sales operations management really fits your needs. What is it about sales operations management that appeals to you most?
Well, I would say that I have extensive experience in both sales and running operations. Obviously, you combine the two, but what it allows me to do is really work across teams. In previous positions, I loved interacting with multiple departments, accounting, HR, our sales, remarketing department, and I like bringing ideas together and coming up with solutions, always asking why. And I believe that the sales operations position allow me to really dig in and ask why things are done the way that they're done, and find solutions, really discuss things with department heads, senior leadership, and figure out a plan to implement in order to get the results that you're looking for.
Very good. And I love that you're on camera. Welcome, welcome. Instantly, when your camera came on, people's face lit up. They're like, oh, he's here. And so I think that in the event you had an interview where you had to choose between not being on camera and there being gym equipment in your background, we'd rather see the gym equipment. It says you're healthy, you're good. So it doesn't send as bad of a message as not having on camera. So, and I know like this was a time that you made arrangements to be here. This is a time usually you and your wife are handing off kids. So I want to acknowledge that and that you're a champ in making this work. But I did want to acknowledge when you came on camera instantly, people just lit up. It was a very welcoming smile that you had. So great job on that. Foster, are you available for feedback? Okay.
I like the crispness of it. I'm always saying I'm a recruiter, and I'm listening to where I can make a reason to talk to you. So the crispness of explaining what direction you want to go, what you have done in the past that is relatable. Now it's got to be of relation, because that's going to give me more bullets in my gun to connect you with an Andy or Nikki or anybody of leadership.
Foster.
Thank you, boss.
Very good. All right. Next, I have Yolanda. Yolanda, I'm going to ask you a question, and Barbie will be your evaluator.
Okay.
Perfect. Yolanda, you and I have talked offline about your passion for problem solving and outstanding customer service abilities. And I know you have a strong technical skill set, but also you have a really strong customer service skill set. Can you tell us about a time that you had to manage a difficult customer, and how did you resolve that in a way that you had a positive outcome?
Okay. Well, depending on my situations, I've had multiple jobs where customer service is always the number one priority. I've had to, let me see how I can do this where, okay. 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 I'm sorry.
Nope,
I
you're
wasn't
doing the
prepared for
exact
this.
right thing. You're doing the exact right thing. So take a breath and you're good.
All right. I've actually, in the travel industry, you get a lot of phone calls where customers are actually very upset, especially when their flights are delayed, and they're upset, especially if their flights get canceled. And I've actually had the situation where the customer accidentally got their flight canceled due to, we couldn't figure out why they were canceled. So instead of me trying to make excuses, as soon as I calmed them down, the one thing I did was I said, let me get them. What I did was immediately put them on another flight, got the ticket exchange immediately while they were on the phone, waived every possible fee you can think of, and even got them upgraded, and immediately just apologized as much as we could. And they were so happy that I was able to get them on the next available flight. And to the point where even though they got kicked off the flight, I actually got them on a flight that even got them there earlier. So overall, with everything that happened to them, they were so happy that I just got them to where I got, from point A to point B faster, and they were upgraded and everything. So to me, even though they had a horrible situation, I turned it around so quickly and made their situation happy that turned around that it just made them happier. That I felt that the customer overall didn't care, because I made them happy. It didn't matter of the situation, as long as they were happy, it didn't matter. So I felt that situation was the key at that point, that the customers were satisfied. That to me is the number one reason. All the other stuff didn't matter. I didn't care how they did it. They were happy. I know I overturned.
No, you're good. So when you watch this back, you're going to want to change something. I'm going to tell you something that's going to surprise you. I don't want you to change it, because what you did was made yourself real. I was at a Toastmasters yesterday where in the middle of the speech, the guy goes, man, I shouldn't have planned this for 5 to 7 minutes. I don't know what else I'm going to talk about. And everybody just laughed. It was relatable. It makes you human. And as a society, we support authenticity. So what it did is you were willing to say, oh, hang on, I wasn't quite prepared for this, or, hang on, I usually have an answer, but you were able to just be vulnerable. And I think sometimes we try so hard to be perfect that we try to fit it in this box. And you had a brilliant answer, but once you got in your head, but as soon as you started saying it, people started nodding, because everybody relates to a flight being canceled. And every person in this room was cheering for you because you allowed yourself to be vulnerable for a minute. So I'll hand it to you, Barbie. I just wanted to get that out.
No, I agree. Absolutely. So Yolanda, a lot of folks feel incredible pressure and anxiety in an interview situation. That is completely normal and to be expected. So give yourself some grace and completely accept that it is okay when you're asked a question to say, that's a great question. I'm going to need just a minute to think about the best response I can give you. And buy yourself 30 seconds, right? Silence is not a bad thing when you're interviewing. Silence can be your best friend. So just go ahead and allow yourself the ability to ask for that time, or to let them know that you're going to need a minute to formulate your answer, because you want to give them the best response possible, right? Because you've got all this great experience, which is kind of what you said, right? You had all these examples. So you want to say, I need just a minute to select the best example for this particular question. And then just gather your thoughts and then start your answer. So you went a roundabout way, but absolutely it worked. I loved how you said, you didn't make excuses to the customer. You didn't try to explain it away. You immediately went into problem solving so that you could help get them to their destination as soon as possible. And that's really what customers are looking for, especially in that heightened space of flights and logistics and that type of thing. You fixed it, you waived fees, you upgraded them. So you really went above and beyond even likely what you were required to do by your organization to service the customer. So I think you did a great job with that as well. I would potentially shorten the end, right? Because you nailed it and you kept going, which I know is your nerves, and that's fine. But if you have the opportunity to just have the closure of your response, and then just let it be the end, and allow them to ask you for further information or for clarity around something, that's also going to give your brain a minute to kind of settle back down and refocus, so that if they do have something, you're ready to go into the next question.
Thank you. And I just wanted to add one thing to that, to what Barbie said. I thought right at the very end, you mentioned a couple times that you made them happy. I think you said that like maybe 2 or 3 times. Another way to say that is you made them happy because you provided them with a solution. You acted fast, you heard their need, and you you took care of it. So because that question, without a doubt, will get asked to you. So I think it's really good that Andy, kind of set you up right now to practice that, because you did provide a quick, immediate solution to the customer, which is why they were happy and there was a positive outcome.
Okay. Thank you.
I think one of the most important things I want you to make sure you carry with you is the taking ownership part. That is where a lot of customer service people who are newer in the industry really struggle with just accepting ownership. And what you said was, I wasn't really looking to place blame. So I think that's a really key takeaway for all of us. So Nathan, I'm going to switch your question a little bit, because what I had planned for you was for you to tell us a little bit about what you're looking for from the employer, but you covered that. So what I'm going to do is pivot a little bit, because I think what an employer would do, or what I would do if I were interviewing in this situation, is try now to pull a little bit of that experience out. So what I would like for you to share with us is a little bit about how you became a subject matter expert in Revit, and why you're so passionate about that as a career choice.
Good, thank you. So second chance, appreciate it. Let me frame it. So my LinkedIn headline, I say that I've 10 years in the MEP industry, which is mechanical, electrical, plumbing design for buildings. The architects hire us to do the design. And 5 years in Revit, which is the software that we use to do the design. It's complicated and it's a pain. It's like QuickBooks on steroids. I've been doing the design for 10 years and I've enjoyed it. I've learned a ton, but I have gotten to the level of it that it's not as exciting anymore. And I find myself, I enjoyed my job more when I was training a coworker or answering a question about the software. So I'm shifting my career in that direction, applying at your company, because that's what you do. That's what I want to do. And I think we're a good fit. Does that answer your question? You're muted.
Rookie mistakes. So I want to say that felt like a whole different person. It really did. The tones, I feel like you took every piece of feedback. I felt like you took a deep breath and you spoke directly to the question itself, and you were approachable and you let some of your passion shine through there. Just remember, when we're talking about passion, our facial expressions need to back it up. But I know everything, like you got everything right. And then, but I really felt like it was a strong answer. I'm going to go to Paul for feedback on this.
I knew you would. You didn't give me the heads up.
Sorry.
So I thought that was a big turnaround from the first question that you answered, where I thought that was a really good answer. I'm a little bit unclear on what you think you're trying to communicate to me. She asked you how you got to be a subject matter expert, and your answer was more about why you're shifting your career into something else.
Until I don't like the questions.
Pardon me?
I don't like these questions. I don't think they provide the information needed to determine if I'm going to be a good employee or not. So I tackle and I give them what I need them to know to hire me.
Yeah. So
questions. So
now you're back to having that. Now you're back to having too much confidence and a little bit of arrogance, and maybe even a slight bit of bitterness and disgruntledness.
Yeah. Is that coming through?
Yeah, that's coming through.
Oh, look at all the nods. I know. All right, Andy, that's our next appointment.
So on your first question, tell me about yourself. You talked a little bit about why you liked this company, and it made me feel like you were telling me why you don't like the company you're at. Granted, and so just you have to be careful about that, and you have to be careful about not over anticipating what we want to hear. Answer the question. Just
answer the question.
Just answer the question. Don't judge the question. Right? Don't judge me.
I'm going to write that down real quick.
But
go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead. That was it.
I might add, Nathan, is you are an expert in this software, right? I would say 99.9% of the rest of the world has no idea what this software is.
Exactly.
And that's okay. But in your response, you said, this software is kind of a pain, and you kind of rolled your eyes a little bit. And that might be because that's how people describe it to you, right? Those who are not as efficient or effective with that software might say to you, it's a pain, can you help me? Instead of it's a pain statement, you might want to use something like, it's a highly complex software. It's similar to QuickBooks, but on steroids, and it's really difficult for some folks to wrap their head around. And where I found the most enjoyment was actually training other people on how to use the software. It was great to see them learn, and I felt like my expertise was being put to use.
You're recording this, right, Andy?
Yep.
Thank you, Barbie.
You're welcome.
That was really good. So
Yeah.
Nathan, here's what I'm going to tell you. It's uncomfortable when you're in an interview because you're in the hot seat and everything is out of your control, right? And in job search, everything feels out of control. That's just part of it. So all of the cycles of grief that we go through when we lose anything else, when we lose a job, or the loss of a dream, or the loss of, if we thought we were going to move up through the ranks at a company and suddenly we're impacted by a RIF, all of these can cause these grief cycles. It is natural and normal to feel anger and disgruntledness, but that we have to pack that away and leave it at the door so it doesn't come in. Otherwise, our past gets to dictate our future instead of us getting to be in the driver's seat of our career and getting to the top of that beautiful pyramid that we created for your goals of being this, what's the top of your pyramid? Exactly. So if y'all can see that. So you have this pyramid where all of your moves are being strategic. Remind yourself why you're excited about this position, and it will help you to eliminate some of the frustration and focus on the past positions. Even if they say something that strikes a nerve, remember, and it's okay in an interview to say, I would much rather focus on the future here. And not to really shirk the question, answer it and move on. But if somebody's asking a lot of, like what happened there? How was your manager? We don't answer questions like that. The best answer is don't answer it. But I have no comment on that. Go official press release, because everything you say in an interview counts. And it goes to show, basically, I want to know, did you earn your get along well with others badge? How are you going to fit into my team? And can you solve my problems? That's essentially what this conversation is about. And whatever questions I feel I need to ask to make that decision, work with me on that. Okay. Make sense? Okay.
Can I follow up real quick?
Yeah, please do.
So Nathan, probably one of the best job opportunities I've had in the last 3 years. I completely blew the interview because I was so bitter about my previous job experience. So I learned that the hard way, and I'm really sensitive to it, which is why I bring it up to you. I mean, I've had the exact experience of blowing an opportunity because I wasn't answering the question. And the guy actually said, "You make me uncomfortable."
Oh, okay.
You gotta go really far to make somebody uncomfortable. So that's why I'm bringing it up to you, because I had that experience myself.
Thank you.
Great, Sarah.
And Ethan, you may be even smarter than the person interviewing you. So you have to be careful not to let that come across too strongly either, because you are such an expert at what you do.
I feel like that was a shot at me, Cindy. No, I'm just playing.
And
I'm totally joking.
One other
All
thing
right.
would be for Nathan and all of us, any of us, but that the ability to pivot your responses is one of the best skills you can develop, whether you're interviewing or the interviewer or just building relationships with folks in general. We all get asked questions we don't want to answer, or maybe we don't even have an answer for. So when I'm coaching folks, one of the things I tell them is to, and this is not a political statement, but watch politicians and watch celebrities when they're on a press junket. And they take the question in, they acknowledge the question. That's a great question. I'm really glad you asked that. They might give like 3 or 4 seconds worth of an answer, and then they're able to shift it to make sure that you hear what they wanted you to hear, which is what I think you were trying to do, Nathan, but the pivot piece didn't really happen. You just kind of ignored it and went down your own path, right? So the key, the finesse there is to acknowledge what they ask you and give them a little bit, and then find a savvier, a little bit smoother way to pivot down the road that you want to go. And it can take some time, but politicians are excellent at that, as well as celebrities when they're being interviewed about the launch of something new, and all they care about is you hearing about their movie or about their book or whatever it is. And if you can find some really good ones to watch, you can start to figure out how they do that. And it's a skill. I mean, if we have time, I can go through it with you, but it really will help you in interviewing.
Thank you.
One of the best strategies, watch a post-game show when the team is lost and they're asking the coach, so why didn't y'all win the game? He's like, well, we have to get the ball in the end zone. Like it's some epiphany that's how you win a game, but that's the answer. And they're like, and they'll make a headline about getting the ball in the end zone like it was something new. So it's the same approach. Very good. Thank you, Barbie. All right, Julia, let's see what question I have for you. And Julia, your evaluator is going to be Jason. All right. Julia, you have led projects with multi-million-dollar budgets for huge companies like Shell. Share with us a time that you were on a project that had a significant impact on business operations or organizational profitability.
So I led the project that I mentioned in my intro, where I offshored work to Chennai, was actually the largest project that I worked on, and it is actually the most challenging. It actually had a $1.2 million impact to our organization over a 2-year span. And I actually had to plan the whole thing, put the whole thing together, put it in motion. I had to plan the chart, the calendar of how we would put it together, the timeline, bring all the people together, the resources. I had to hire everybody over in Chennai. We had to do the training, put the training packets together, know when the timing was going to happen for the training. Everything that's involved in a project plan came together. And I was on my own putting it together. So I was learning by the seat of my pants as I did it. But it was exciting. And I had some mentors along the way, but it was exciting to say that I did it at the end of the day. And it was a success. We created metrics to make sure that everything was followed up at the end, and nothing fell through the cracks. We got to go over to Chennai and deliver the training successfully. And I can say that it was a success. I couldn't say that at the beginning. I was a little nervous at the beginning, but got through it step by step, and followed the project plan, and it all went off without a hitch.
Great example. And again, I think you're almost flawless in your answers. I think you're very welcoming in your approach, and you have that kind of energy about you. The only thing I will tell you, and we all have our crutch words, yours is so just be aware of it, start to take note of it, and when you go back and watch it, you'll hear it. Okay. Now that I am on lives and on the radio, I hear and so all the time. Now you're going to hear when I say it, Jason picks it up all the time now, and so I say it all the time. Okay. Really. So just be aware of that, and you'll start to hear it, and hopefully it kind of eliminates the issue. Don't get too much in your head with it, but just be aware of it. Okay. Jason?
Excellent job, Julia. This thing that you have obviously practiced and gone through. You did see, now you got me saying you did use the word successfully, like
multiple times,
like many times. Change that up a little bit, come up with a grab your thesaurus, or look online, Google, synonym for successful, and rotate some of those words out there. You explained everything very clearly. The other part of it was you gave me the money part, right? That's that at the end of the day, that's what employers are looking for, is how much money you're going to make them or how much money you're going to save them. Right. And so putting that part in there. And so putting that part in there was brilliant, but you did an excellent job.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. And we're going to wrap it up with Ginger. Ginger, your evaluator will be Michelle. And the question that I have for you is, Ginger, in your work as a business analyst, I'm sure you've encountered your fair share of stakeholders who were not on board with the project scope. What are some strategies that you have used in the past that worked well for you to create buy-in or create a shared project goal with reluctant stakeholders? You're muted, my friend.
Okay. I have worked with both internal and external customers as stakeholders. When I am a business analyst, my best strategy is communication. If someone's not on board, then we have to collaborate in a group to ensure that we're all on board before we can get this project going, and determine that if our requirements are correct. If someone's not happy with them, then we have to keep meeting until we get that correct. But I constantly am a big communicator. I'm big on organization and processes, and any documentation that I'm handling, it's always shared. Everyone has the current information. We make sure we all know the changes and we're aware of anything that may impact in our area. Products, you're dealing with a lot of product owners. So that's my strategy, communication.
Very good, Ginger. Real quick on that feedback, I was hoping to hear something that I heard more when we were kind of collaborating offline. And that was that really you kind of serve as an advocate. So instead of just meeting for meeting to create buy-in, talking about how the purpose of the meeting is to ensure that all stakeholders have a voice and feel heard. Right. And kind of weaving that in instead of it being like almost like a jury that's locked and we're going to just keep staying here until we come to a unanimous verdict, but making sure that it's more of a I'm communicating on behalf of reluctant stakeholders who may not feel they have a voice. I think you can weave some of those in and showcase some of that supportive language that I know that is there. So very good. Michelle?
I agree with you. No, more like, for example, sometimes you have to communicate with people separately or people take information in differently. You have to communicate to them on their level and understanding of what you're dealing with. So no, I agree.
Thank you.
Ginger, I like the way you answered the question. I thought that it was, like Andy said, a little general, that you could really go into the specifics of how you communicate different. I really like this question because I view it as like the secret sauce to your success. So I think that's how you can showcase it, right? By saying that you're an advocate, by saying that you are a voice for people that don't feel they have a voice. And here's how you do that. If you break communication down into the specific things that you do differently for some of those stakeholders that are difficult or that are kind of maybe stuck in their ways, I think that if you can be a little bit more concise in that answer, I think that would be better. But I love that. I do like the fact that communication is how you deal with those difficult stakeholders. I just think it needs to be specific and what is different with your communication with them versus the people that are like easy to work with, easygoing, say yes to whatever you want to do. So
one of my things when I'm interviewing is I tend to talk too much. So I try not to talk too much because I don't want to take over the conversation if it's something I'm interested in. So I'll work on that.
If I might offer something as a project manager in answering that type of question, something that might help kind of paint the picture of where you're going, because
Okay.
communication in and of itself is not a strategy, right? Communication
Right.
is something we use. So perhaps a better or another way to say it would be, as a project lead or as a project manager, a pivotal part of my role is to influence all the stakeholders and drive consensus so that we have agreement on the scope and the outcomes.
Right.
And
Okay.
I do that by ensuring clear, open, and frequent communication, pulling the teams together when I anticipate that there's not alignment, and then kind of go through the steps of your strategy on how you develop that robust communication. That's a strategy, but
That's good.
simply saying communication is a strategy, it's a little too wishy-washy, and it doesn't help frame up all of this really difficult work that you're likely doing as a project manager trying to drive that.
Okay.
Very
Hey,
good.
Ginger, this is Nikki. I was going to say at the end, I thought you were starting to go there when you started talking about processes and sharing documents. And so you kind of, baited me in, and I was just looking for a little bit more. So I think, Barbie's comments are great.
I didn't want to talk too much. Once I start talking about things, I know a lot, and then sometimes it gets run away. It's like a runaway train. I talk way too much. So I was trying to not do that.
Okay. Well, I think, I think as you kind of bring it in and have a more concise answer, you probably won't run on and talk too much.
Okay.
And the only other thing I was going to say is, as we were talking right now, you got this little smile going, but when you were presenting, it was like communication. It was just very, so like right now, I'm like, I see the smile, I see it. There's some enthusiasm there. So don't be afraid to, even if it's like a little bit of a laugh, if it's a smile, something, but it was just very serious. And again, you kind of want your personality to come through. And so as we're talking now, I see it a little bit, but when you're given the answer, it was like, you were just right on it. So
I do
again,
better in person and then Zooms, but
yeah. So I think with Zoom, sometimes it feels like you have to be a little bit extra, more than maybe you would if you're in face-to-face, because again, you're doing it over the camera. So I just wanted to give you that feedback, because as we're talking, I see it. Yeah. But when you were giving your response, I didn't see it, but I know it's there.
Okay. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
I love it. Well, this has been a really, really great, I don't know what to call these episode show, time interview prep experience. So I really appreciate all of your time. If you will stick around, we're going to go backstage for a little bit. We're going to end the live stream and see everybody next week. We've got a great lineup. I know for sure Heidi Torres is going to be with us. And so we've got a couple of other people coming. I'll be announcing throughout the week. So we will see you then. Thank